Hello, how you doing? Sorry, I'm just getting comfortable. I'm still a little bit... Oh, of course you want to steal the show straight away, Bluebell. I thought I'd come on because you won't even believe this has happened, but Sai has been called into work today. They're having some kind of team building motivational speaker come in or something like that. So he's had to go into work. So I think this is only the second time. You trying to steal my hot chocolate? It's the second time in the last year that Sai has had to go into the office and not work from home. So I have the flat to myself, which, if you've been following me for a while, you know I used to have all the time. I'd have every day to myself in the flat, and I actually quite enjoyed that. So I won't mind me saying, because I'm sure he feels exactly the same, that it's been very tricky to be in each other's company for this amount of time without any breaks. So I think it would do us both some good. I'm sure he'll like being around his colleagues and just seeing some different faces, having different conversations and absorbing different energies from different people. And I will just enjoy, once I finish filming this, just sitting in silence for a bit. When I found out he was going into the office today, I was like, oh, well, how can I make use of the time right? I thought, shall I schedule a podcast and do one, you know, downstairs rather than having to go in the loft like I usually do? More on that later. But then I just thought, no, I don't want to fill this time with noise and activity. I actually just really want to make the most of the quiet, because I think I've really realised how important that is to my stability, and I've really struggled with not having peace and quiet, and there's just been constant noise in this flat for a year now, because of Sai's job it's a sales recruitment job, so it involves being on the phone all day. So there's constant conversation, and obviously male voices carry a bit further generally. And we live in a flat the rooms are very close. So wherever I am in the flat, I can hear him. And then if he's got the music on as well in the background, which he sometimes does, I've got that to contend with while I'm trying to work. So it's been a lot for my brain, to be honest. So yeah. I just wanted to almost acknowledge this wonderful occurrence today with a video and quickly catch up with you before I get involved in relishing the silence, I guess. I'm drinking a hot chocolate from Hotel Chocolat, which I made with my velvetizer. I can't remember how caught up you are in my life, to be honest, because I lose track of what I share on what social media platform. But was it for Valentine's? Yeah, for Valentine's he surprised me with a velvetizer, so I can have proper hot chocolates at home, which just feels very indulgent and very lovely. I don't drink tea, I don't drink coffee, so hot chocolate has always been my only hot drink, apart from hot lemon, but that doesn't feel like a treat, does it? So it's nice that when everyone has their coffees and teas now, I can feel like I'm joining in and I'm not the outcast with my cold drink. So what else can I catch you up on? This is assuming any of you care, but let's think. So yeah, as I was saying, I have been recording my podcasts in the loft. I'm not sure whether I was doing that last time I spoke to you. I think last time I was just working around Sai's schedule, so asking him to just be quiet for an hour each week while I tried to record. So he'd often play on his Xbox and try and keep Bluebell busy while I'd quickly record a podcast. And I'd have to very much work around his work, and I was just feeling very stifled and held back, and I just wasn't progressing as much as I wanted to with my work because of those limitations. So I thought, let's try and see if I can make it work in the loft. So luckily I went up and realised my Wi-Fi would reach me in the loft, so I could do Zooms up there. It's not ideal by any stretch of the imagination. To get from the ladder into the loft is really bad for my hips and my body in general. It's not an easy manoeuvre for me. I have to sit on the floor on my knees, which isn't great, and because it's really cold up there, I tend to seize up even more in that position than I would normally. It's obviously very dark and dingy and dusty, and this week I did a podcast interview and he wanted the video recorded so he could make clips of it, and normally I wouldn't record the video because I know how horrendous I look at it because the lighting is so awful, and I've just got a backdrop of like dusty coats which doesn't look that professional, but sometimes you've got to put vanity and your own feelings aside for the greater good, and as long as, you know, people hear the words we're saying, which is why we do a podcast, I guess that's the main thing. But yeah, not my best look, let's just say that. So this week, the podcast episode was with Sean Long from While She Sleeps. And the last time we caught up was, I think we worked out about 4 years ago at Reading Festival in the press tent. And it was a really great chat back then, and Sean was really giving and generous with what he was willing to share in terms of his coping mechanisms for anxiety and a tic that he lives with as well. So I was excited to kind of follow up on that chat, and it was really nice again. So it means a lot when people are happy to be open with me, I guess. It's nice that they feel that they can do that. And then before that we had one with Dan from Bury Tomorrow, and he's just so incredibly insightful about mental health because he does lots of work with the NHS and he does his own content to do with mental health as well. So he's very well versed in information, but also just in sharing his own personal experiences. So they're really great chats, and I'm glad that I can incorporate my music world into the podcast. So I hope to do a bit more of that moving forward. If you're listeners to the podcast, do let us know if there's any subjects that you think would be good to cover. The podcast listens are starting to go up now, which is really nice and really encouraging. So I think Kelly and I will persevere with that. I mean, it's a hell of a lot of work when you factor in that it's sometimes 2.5 hours of conversation, and then just to listen to it back is 2.5 hours, let alone having to edit it and deal with the audio issues that always arise and things like that. So it's quite a lot of work, not to mention the research that you tend to do before these kind of interviews as well. So it doesn't pay and it's a lot of work, but I think overall Kelly and I feel just like we get so much out of doing it, and it feels like something really positive to be doing. So I think we will persevere with it, and maybe one day, you never know, a sponsor might come in and that will help us a little bit cover costs of the hosting and stuff like that, and maybe we could put some money into promoting it a bit because we've had to do it very DIY and just do everything ourselves at the moment, but it'd be nice to actually invest in it a little bit more in the future. Oh yeah, since I last spoke to you, I think this is a new edition. I have a show on Radio Woking, which is a local station to me, called Wellness Wednesday. It's a 2-hour show that I have to produce and present, do everything really, upload to the system every week. So that's another big chunk of work, a lot more than I anticipated when I took it on, really. Again, it's voluntary, but I've been racking my brains for the last year or so in terms of what I could do for the local community, because I think this year has really put a spotlight on how important it is to look after those in your network. I think we've all, helped neighbours in need, those people that are vulnerable and can't shop, for instance. I think we've all been doing shopping for neighbours and, checking in with people that previously we might not have checked in with. And I don't know if you found this, when you walk around the block on your daily exercise or whenever you leave the house, everyone's much more eager to say hello because there's that feeling of community now that we're in this together and that we're all struggling, and we just really appreciate seeing another face. So when I thought about, doing the show for Radio Woking, I thought that is a way that I can use something that I've learned in terms of my mental health qualifications and share it to the local community. I don't know whether I'll just do it while we're still in lockdown when I feel like it's especially necessary, or whether I'll be able to continue it on afterwards. I'll have to wait and see. depending on workload issues, etc. And it's been quite nice to learn something new. Like at my age, it sometimes feels a bit more challenging to take on new things. Like when you're younger, I think you soak everything up a bit easier, but it's definitely a bit trickier. So I'm quite pleased that I've got to grips with learning a new system. I mean the radio system, in terms of how to upload the songs and my links and interviews and things like that. It's nice to take something on that might help me in the future potentially. So yeah, on tonight's show I've got Alyssa Franceschi, who some of you might know. She's a lovely lady who sings very beautifully. And tonight's show is about the power of music. So I'm talking about which music is best for your mental health in terms of reducing stress, what genres and scenes within music tend to have the most positive people, talk a little bit about music therapy. So there's lots of stuff, but music and mental health related in there. I guess health. Oh my god, Bluebell. I think it's Zoomy time. Do you want to come up here, Bluebell? Do you want to meet everyone? No, I don't, frankly. I've got too many balls to chase. Sorry guys, she's not fast. We celebrated a year of Bluebell, talking about Bluebell. Did we do anything special for you? No, we did actually. We went to Pets at Home and got her a fresh one of her favourite toys, which never lasts long because you play with them so much, don't you, darling? Got her some special treats and things like that. If you like cats and they cheer you up, then I did make a very cheesy montage video on my Instagram. I know some people have thought, oh my god, she's obsessed with her cat, but I am, so that's fine. But it's there if anyone wants a dose of cuteness. What was I saying? Yes, health. Health-wise, I guess the main issue at the moment for me is I still can't sleep on my back at all. Last night I tried it and probably managed about half hour, but the whole time it did feel slightly challenging. So it is hard to get comfortable in bed. I'm sure the physio is helping in some respect, but it's definitely not fixed the problem by any means, which is a shame because I have to sleep on the side, but because my hips hurt, that's not even nice either. So I just want to find one position that is comfortable that I can do with another person in the bed, because I have found this quite weird position that I can do, but it's quite disruptive because one of my legs does go into the size zone of the bed, which he's not very happy about. So that is a work in progress. I've been taking, for the MCAS related symptoms, I think my appointment, it's written up there. Yeah, my next appointment's on the 22nd with the immunologist. So we're still exploring MCAS related illnesses, but we've tried histamines since the last appointment. The first dose just did nothing, so she said double it, and I think there's been a little change, but it's not that significant. I still sneeze a lot, I've still constantly got itchy nose, there's still other kind of allergic reactions happening all over the shop, so that's still a work in progress. I'm still struggling with a lot of adrenaline surges, so that's another thing I want to investigate, and that obviously could be connected to POTS or MCAS or something completely different, so who knows. I should talk about this health as well, because that's just as important. I think the main thing I've been struggling with is social media, to be honest, and I think this week, the last few weeks actually in particular, have been so heavy, probably particularly if you're women, although I'm sure everyone is finding it taxing on the brain in one respect or another. But because of the news and the things that have been happening in the world, I think a lot of women are reflecting on things that have happened to themselves, their own experiences, and it's brought a lot of stuff up. And I feel like because everyone's continuing to share their own experiences, which of course they can and should do if they want to, it means that every time you go online you are being consistently triggered as well. So it's quite difficult, particularly if you have a job where you can't just take a complete break from social media. You can mute certain words, you can unfollow certain accounts, but when things are so prevalent as they are right now, you just can't avoid it if you are online. It's unrealistic to think that you can. So it's tricky to navigate. I've been taking a lot of time away from social media, which as a result means I'm engaging less, and that means the algorithm then doesn't work in your favour. It also means that your engagement goes down, not just because of the algorithm, but because you're not interacting with other accounts, because it tends to work that if you comment on other people's, you tend to get more comments back. That's one of the biggest pieces of advice that Instagram gurus give you, is to engage with other accounts. So I guess it's just human nature that people want to show support for people that show them support. So if you tend to be vocal on their page, they're more inclined to be vocal on your page. So because I'm trying to look after my mental health and I'm not on as much, I'm not commenting or seeing other people's posts as much, and inevitably my engagement has dipped drastically. And this is, I think, an ongoing thing that I talk about with apps, is they don't really care about your mental health, because they wouldn't have an algorithm that is impacted by someone taking a break from social media, would they? They'll go, actually, that's a good thing that you're looking after your mental health and taking a break, but that's not what they're doing. And it is, I often think it is a shame that it does take you engaging with other people to make people want to engage with you, even though I completely understand it. It's a shame that it's not just, I think that content you've posted is good, and I think you put effort in, so that's, or it resonates with me, so that's why I'm going to comment. It's like, the question is, have they supported me recently? And that's weird when you think about it like that. It kind of makes it feel less authentic and less natural and less genuine, and then you start thinking, oh, is this something I want to be part of? And then you think, am I just overthinking this? Maybe they genuinely don't see the post because of the algorithm issue, and it's not that they're not commenting on it because you've not commented on theirs. This is what my brain does. It goes down all these little wormholes of doubt and cynicism and hatred for social media when it's maybe isn't that deep. But yes, as a result of my engagement going down, I've been struggling on the money front, if I'm honest with you. Why stop here? I always have been with you guys. But yeah, financially, it's been a tricky few months. In terms of like ads on Instagram, I've had a lot of people wanting free work out of me, or the people that have approached me have been asking things that I'm not happy to do again. So it's really frustrating, and I guess the question I ask myself is, do I go online more to do the things I need to do to up my engagement again and increase the chance of me getting brand deals, but as a result harm my mental health? Or do I just accept that I'm not going to earn enough for the next few months and struggle financially, which will stress me out in a different kind of way? So it's a weird thing, isn't it? That kind of process of decision making that you have to go through, that really doesn't feel like a process you should have to go through. I think ideally you'd always want to prioritise your well-being, really. I guess financially the big challenge for me has been that in the last year I invested quite a lot of money into courses and gaining qualifications in teaching, instructing and first aid for mental health. So I was thinking that, you know, it wouldn't be long before I was going to be out and teaching and therefore making the money back. But that hasn't happened. So I took a big hit financially and haven't yet been able to gain any of that back. It's not the normal expenditure that I'd have on a monthly basis on food and, you know, my normal bills. There's been an extra wad taken out that I haven't been able to recoup yet. So that's a bit of a stress. Just trying to keep busy and just hope that the tide turns soon, but we will have to see. I'm not going to be alone in struggling right now, and I'm lucky that I'm in a couple and that we can kind of share the load, and when I'm going through a bad patch financially, he can support me a bit more, and vice versa. I'd be in a very different situation if I didn't have that kind of backup there, and I'm very grateful for that, obviously. In terms of what Si and I have been doing over the last few weeks since I last spoke to you, it's probably not much different, to be honest. Of course, we've been watching lots of TV and films, like all of you have, I'm sure. As you guys know, we usually like crime, drama, pretty dark stuff, but the last couple of weeks, Si and I both felt like we just couldn't handle it really. We'd start something, like we started a documentary about a murder with the Mormons, I think it was called, and another series called Your Honour, which is really good, by the way. But we'd start it and then we'd look at each other and just say, I can't do it today, just can't. I need something that I don't need to think about when I watch. So we've been watching a lot of trashy TV, a lot of Married at First Sight. We've gone through all the seasons now, where we've gone back and we're doing season 4. We're watching the new Love Island Australia, obviously the Great Pottery Throwdown, and creative shows like that have been really nice for me to watch. Portrait Artists of the Year, the Grace and Perry Show, things like that. I think it's good in a way though that we've been able to recognise what habits that we normally have aren't serving us as well as they might be right now, and it's good that we're willing to adapt and go, usually we'd watch back-to-back crime documentaries, but right now that's not going to do us any good, so let's put on some escapism, things that make us feel laugh or make us feel warm and fuzzy, and that's okay. We were going to try and eat a bit healthier as well, because we have been indulging a lot. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I think it's been a way of coping actually over the last year, having nice bits of food. It's brought us a lot of joy actually, eating lots of tasty things. But we were going to try and curb some of our habits a little bit. But we also thought actually the last 2 weeks have been really difficult and heavy. This isn't the time to do it. Let's make sure that we're still enjoying our food and giving ourselves these treats that give us that little lift. So that's on the back burner for now, but maybe as the sun becomes a bit more of a constant in our lives, we will start exercising a bit more, getting out there, keeping moving, and be more inclined to eat a bit more salads maybe, and less of the stodge that we've been enjoying so much, but who knows. I think last time I came on I talked about maybe doing a Patreon, but I think I was just voicing that I had some wobbles and doubts about it. I wasn't sure how I felt about it. I felt a bit awkward about it, and I had a call with a friend of mine who's a life coach, and she made me feel so much better and said, you absolutely should be charging this, and you're not charging enough for that. And compared to what, you know, she just made me feel better about it. And then I was like, yes, I'm going to do this, got it all set up, was going to launch. And then I saw a couple people in the space of a couple days posting slightly shady comments about people that charge for certain things online. And it just gave me the willies and made me go, oh no, I can't do it. And it's a shame, because I know that's my issue, because really I should have enough conviction and confidence in my decision to go, that's their opinion, I don't have to agree with it, and not everyone will have that opinion, and you can't please everyone, and all those sorts of things that we would tell other people to think. But it was enough to put me off, so I've held back on that, and I'm not sure I'm going to go down that route. It would have been nice, because it would have been hopefully a little bit of money just to help, but I don't know if it would have been worth it if I was going to agonise over that and feel some level of shame about getting money that way. It's probably not worth it if I've got any of those kind of reservations. So that's something I've got to continue working through. Yeah, God, I did want it to be a long video, so I'm not going to feel too guilty about it, because I don't come on YouTube often, so maybe it's all right. That's a bit of a meandering, waffly one as usual. Yeah, if there's anything I can do a video on that would be helpful, perhaps utilising some of the things I've learnt on the courses over the last year. I've done a course in CBT, counselling, and obviously the first aid for mental health. The first 2 courses I mentioned are not like really in-depth ones, they're quite basic knowledge, but if there's anything I can pass on, of course I'd be happy to do that. I do hope you're doing okay, and I do miss some of you guys over here, because I did enjoy the interactions that we used to have on here regularly. I know some of you have come over to Instagram and to the podcast, and that's great, because I feel like we're still connected in some way, but hopefully I'll hear from some of you in the comments and we can have a bit of a catch up in the chat below. But yeah, I hope you're looking after yourselves, and it's this last lockdown, I think, tricky one, isn't it? bit of a bugger, but hopefully not long now. Have any of you had your vaccines yet? Let me know about that, because there's been a bit of a big hoo-ha in the EDS community because we're not listed as one of the illnesses or conditions that should be prioritised. Just wondering if anyone else is in the same boat, that they feel like they should have the vaccine but they haven't been called for a vaccine. Be interested to know that. My parents have both had their first vaccine now, which is great. My dad was meant to be having his hip replacement and it got cancelled again, which is a bit of a shame, but probably quite expected. But hopefully that will get done, you know, sometime this year. But yeah, I'll go. I keep thinking more things I want to share with you, but I will actually go now. And yeah, look after yourselves and take care. I'm so out of practice again, aren't I?